And we are live. Woodward Bets, Spear and Scott here, breaking down everything in Week 3 on the Woodward Sports Network. Make sure you guys go and follow all the socials at Woodward Sports Network and give our new show a follow at Woodward Bets. Scott, feels like it's been a long time coming, buddy. I want to thank you for holding down the fort while I was gone. I want to send a shout out to our boy Detroit Beastie for stepping in and doing an amazing job here, but it's nice to be here with you, buddy, talking Week 3. How's everything going, my man?
Man, I'm really glad to have you, my friend. I was shaking like a bear shit in peach pits when I had to basically host that show myself. But you know what? I got through it. I stood up and I just said, hey, life isn't so bad if you got to talk about sports. I can do that. But sorry to hear some of the news there about your family. We had some heavy hearts for you, but yeah, I'm looking forward to breaking down week 3 here with you.
Yeah, definitely. Looks like a fun slate. So again, hit us up on Twitter at Woodward Bets, trying to grow that page over there. We'll be coming to you every day, talking fantasy, talking daily fantasy, talking bets, our favorite bets here on the slate each and every day. And if you're out there listening, you know, the Detroit Beastie came in and did a good job. Again, I want to give him some props here. But we're looking to provide that opportunity for more people that want to come in and provide fantasy content, get their feet wet. We want to be that platform for you guys. So follow that page, reach out to us. If you do something now, if you're a writer, you do articles, you do videos, we want to hear from you. We want to give you those opportunities. So reach out to us on that Twitter handle at Woodward Bets. So, Scott, any other thoughts here for the people before we kind of dive into the slate? Our plan, give you some of our favorite DFS plays for the weekend. Kind of handle it season long as well. Guys sit starts, and of course, some of our favorite bets of the weekend. So any other words for the people here before we kind of dive into the games?
Yeah, I will tell you, though, I think our Friday show that we had where we had the start and sit questions, really had some fun with that. So, yeah, like you said, make sure you get over there, follow our Twitter page. If you guys want to ask us a question, start, sit, trade, anything like that, that's what we want to kind of dedicate some of our Friday to. So, yeah, we're looking forward to that. More the merrier. Fire them off to us. It doesn't have to be on a Friday, a Thursday. Ask us, fire it off on a Tuesday, and we'll try to get to it best we can. But, yeah, we had a lot of fun on Friday with that.
Yeah, absolutely. We want to be here for you guys. So we want to answer your questions. I know there's those burning fantasy questions everybody has, trying to set their lineups and everything. We want to be here to help you guys out. So really want this to be a community-oriented thing. Yes, we're in the Metro Detroit area, but we really hope to be able to reach a lot of people here and give some nuggets, give some winners, Scott. So let's dive in here and cover this slate. First game up, we got Washington traveling to Buffalo. Buffalo 7-point home favorites here, 45.5 on the total here, Scott. Buffalo coming off that big win in Miami. Washington, we'll see. Tyler Heineke under center here. Tough draw in Buffalo. Let's talk Josh Allen here because we know the big-name quarterbacks on this slate. Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, Kyler Murray. Where are you at with Josh Allen here? I find him intriguing. We know he has the same level of upside as some of these other guys, but I don't think the ownership's going to be there as well. This offense has yet to really click here this season. Stephon Diggs has kind of been a letdown as well. A lot of people spent a first-round fantasy pick on Diggs. Is this the week this offense gets going, Scott?
You know, I actually think this is a spot here for Buffalo that you're right. I think you're going to get Josh Allen pretty low owned, and especially with Diggs. The thing I like about it is you know, Washington, the Heineke's had 300-yard games both starts. So I think they might be able to actually keep up with Buffalo here a little bit. So I really like that. But I will tell you one thing. I was looking at some prop bets, and Josh Allen's over 35 rushing yards prop bet. I really do like that. I think that's one of my favorite prop bets of the week, actually. Yeah, I think this is a week. You know what? There's certain guys, maybe 4, 5, 6 guys here at quarterback that, you know, can get you rushing upside, especially on like a FanDuel where you need to get those touchdowns. You know, he's definitely one of them guys. So anytime for me when I can get a guy like that on a low-owned side and I'm maybe playing a handful of teams, definitely getting some consideration for me to stack them up.
Yeah, and Stack, if you're new to DFS, Stack is simply pairing two teammates together, and it makes a lot of sense, obviously. You pair Stephon Diggs with Josh Allen. They score a touchdown there. You're getting points from both guys. So remember, if you're new to DFS, don't worry. We're going to try to break things down to an elementary level here where everybody can jump in and feel comfortable and play the game. But I agree. I think there's some value in that side of the ball. Any interest in the Washington side? Again, Heineke, one of those guys. He's not gonna be shy in the spot. He's gonna come out here. He's gonna throw. We know the weapons are there in McLaurin, Gibson, Logan Thomas. Any interest in this side of the ball here, Scott? Kind of a tough matchup. We saw Buffalo shut Miami out last week. Are they going to shut this Washington offense down as well?
I don't think so. The thing here is with the running backs. I mean, McKissick kind of came in a little bit, stole some carries from Gibson last week. That's another committee type backfield. So McLaurin's kind of interesting maybe to pair up if maybe as a bounce back in this game if you wanted to maybe game stack, consider that. Maybe I'd look at that. I don't know. I can't say I'm really enamored with anything here with Washington. It does have a low total at 45.5, but maybe a bounce back with Terry McLaurin, but that's about it. I can't really say that I'm going to stack up any kind of Washington quarterback, and I think there's just way too many other spots that got really high upside for me to consider that.
Yeah, I agree, and it follows the same line. I know you've talked about it in some of the shows earlier in the week where you don't want to bet every game, and sometimes in DFS you don't have to try to cover every square. It's literally impossible. Even if I had 150 lineups, I'd win the tournament. It's not easy to cover everything. I hear a lot of people talking about that. So you got to pick your spots with your betting, with your DFS. As far as a betting pick here, Scott, anything stand out here? I don't see a ton here I like, and I think that's important. Again, we don't want to cover every single bet. If I had a lean, I kind of like the under in this game. I do think the Buffalo defense can control this game. I think Heineke, you may see some of that inexperience start to show up here in a tough spot. So I lean the under, not a strong feeling on this game. Anything stand out to you here, betting-wise, in this one?
Like I said, I really like that prop bet, the rushing prop for Josh Allen. I think that's something that I'm going to be really interested in. I think the Bills here. If I had to bet anything, I think I would probably just take the Bills at home. I don't feel strong enough about it where I'm really gonna probably bet on this game here. I think it's just one I'm gonna watch. And like I said, I may have some some Buffalo stacks on some deeper type tournament teams that I'm gonna make. Probably won't have them on any of my single entries, but yeah, I think Josh Allen and Diggs is interesting though.
Yeah, I love Diggs this week. I think he finds the end zone here this week and gets it going. So let's move to our next game, and this one's intriguing, Scott. We get the debut of Justin Fields here with Chicago. Andy Dalton hurt. I know you and Beastie talked about the happenings in Chicago and what's with Matt Nagy, and still trying to say Andy Dalton's going to be the quarterback after this if he's healthy. I find that to be nonsense here, but let's talk about Justin Fields. I know he's a point of contention here in DFS, in the betting market, some of his rushing props. What are your thoughts here on Fields? Kind of a tough draw here with Cleveland, although the defense has not played as good as we've seen in the past. So any interest here in Fields? We know he's got ability with his legs, create those rushing yards. Do you want to pull the trigger in DFS on Justin Fields this week?
I'm probably not going to pull the trigger. I'm going to kind of wait and see. I mean, the upside for the rushing is there for sure, but I just don't think he's got it in him to really zing the ball around the yard to compare to some other quarterbacks, especially we have on the slate. I think they're going to end up loading the box against the Bears. Cleveland's just going to load it up. They're going to make him throw it around. Now let's see if he doesn't get happy feet and just take off running, as soon as he gets any kind of pressure, which I'm going to believe he's probably going to do until he gets a few games under his belt. I think that's just going to be his natural instincts. But we'll see. I think, he's going to be looking at some of his tight end. I'm a little concerned about Cole Kmet. Graham and Jesse James they overshadowed him. I think they had 56% of the snaps between the two of them over Kmet last week. So, I know a lot of people do like Kmet with some Fields, they're talking about it, but I'm going to let everybody else play Fields. Hey, if he's like 10, 15% owned, that's great. I'm going to let everybody else play him. I'm going to stay off it. And you know what? If I actually had a lean, I think these two teams aren't too far off from each other, actually, as far as talent on both sides of the ball. I know a lot of people do like Cleveland, but I mean, truthfully, I'm going to take the 7.5 points here with the Bears. I'd just rather take the Bears here in the points. If you're looking at teams that are given touchdown or more. I just don't think Cleveland's in that spot where they should be given. I mean, this isn't the Jets, this isn't Houston, this isn't Jacksonville. So I just don't. I think that's a little high.
Yeah, I'm with you on Fields. I think I'm going to take a wait and see approach. Hell, if he beats me, he beats me. You know, you got to give him props. But I'm going to sit back and wait here. I still think this Cleveland defense is much better than they have shown this season. Look at some of the weapons. You mentioned the tight end situation. As good as Allen Robinson is, he just hasn't been seeing the targets. It's been shown over the years. Rookie quarterbacks generally don't elevate their wide receivers. So I know there's some Darnell Mooney talk out there as a value play. Not much I like in this game, even on the Cleveland side of things. You lose Jarvis Landry. Now you plug in Odell Beckham. Scott, this is a team that spreads the ball around. I believe it was 10 or 11 guys got targets last week. Even the running game, you know, as good as Nick Chubb is, Kareem Hunt is lurking. Now it's Demetric Felton is working his way into the mix here. So not much I like here from DFS. This is another one. I'm going to kind of be boring here, Scott, but I like the under in this game. I think Cleveland gets ahead here. I know you like Chicago, but this is a team that if they run the ball, that's churning clock. You got a rookie quarterback. I don't think the Bears are going to come in and score a ton of points in this one. So I like the under 45 in this one. Any takes on that over-under? We're kind of disagreeing on this one. Hell, Chicago could still hit, and I could still hit the under here. So maybe a little parlay for us.
Yeah, I mean, truthfully, if Chicago does hang in this game and keeps it within the 7.5, I think it'll be an under type game. You know, I think the clock's going to be running quite a bit here in this game. I don't think you're going to see too many passes. But you're right. Cleveland's so frustrating. They do spread the ball out quite a bit. I mean, they got a couple different tight ends, Njoku, they got Hooper, they got, you know, they're throwing it around. Now they're going to have OBJ, like you said. I mean, Janovich scored the first touchdown last week. He's tilted me quite a bit last week as a Chubb owner. But, yeah, I think, you know, as the season starts going here, I think we're going to have to just start really focusing on these running backs that are going to get these goal line carries. And I mean, there is a few of these guys, but Chubb is just it seems like if you don't break one over 20 yards, it's a crapshoot who's coming in there. So very frustrating. But, yeah, I like your under call here on this game.
So what you're saying is Janovich literally killed your Chubb.
Yeah, he made my Chubb go down.
I had to throw a Chubb joke in there. It wouldn't be our first show if we didn't mix one of those in there. Now let's move on to the next game. Talking hometown team here. As you see my Green Bay helmet here, I'm born and raised Cheesehead, so I'm not a traitor here. But we got Baltimore coming in. Scott, this spread is interesting. It's just 7.5. Seems a bit low here. And you look at the markets, there's some 8s out there. I know this thing got a little higher. But that 7.5 is really kind of gripped and stayed there. Does that give you pause? You know, I know Baltimore going to be a very popular pick here this week. I would think this one would be closer to 9 or 10 on the line. Does this make you nervous at all? Because a lot of times when you think a line's supposed to be, something looks off. Generally, the Sharps, Vegas, they're correct here. So is it just me, or does this line look a little fishy to you here at 7.5?
It does look fishy. I think the Sharps – I think some of the Sharps might be on some of the lines here. I expected this line to go up, which was, 7.5, 8. I thought maybe it'd get up to 9, but I will say if I can find it at a book at 8.5, I'm gonna tease it up to 14.5. Truthfully, I think Baltimore just had 2 tough games with the Raiders in Kansas City. I think they might come in here and think they can sleepwalk a little bit. Detroit's just been, I don't know, they've been playing really hard lately. I think. You know, you got a bunch of young guys that don't have anything to play for. They're all trying to prove themselves. Goff's in a position where he obviously needed to prove himself a little bit. I think the Lions they're really not a good football team. I mean, you look on paper, you match them up against everybody. I mean, it's just they're bad. But, you know, I for some reason, I don't 2 touchdowns. If I can get that 14.5, that little extra half on that 14.5, I really like that teaser. I thought about dipping it down, too. You can actually dip it down to 2.5 if you like Baltimore. I think Baltimore does win. Bad teams find a way to lose. I think the Lions do find a way to lose. So I actually think you can dip it kind of both ways, especially Lions at 8.5. But, man, I mean, the Lions been surrendering the most points, almost 38 points per game. The most points to running back. Obviously, we know that's Baltimore's bread and butter. So I think, everything just lines up for a pure ass whooping here by Baltimore. But you know how it is when everybody's riding one way. that's why I kind of think if I can get that 14.5 teaser, I think I like the Lions tease here as the week's gone on.
Yeah, I like that call. I'm actually going to stay away from the spread here because it does make me nervous. What I really like here, I like the over in this game, and you mentioned it. It feels like the Lions are going to give up 30-plus points every single week. It just seems like a shoo-in. Their defense is not great. Now they're thin in the secondary here. You put Lamar Jackson on this turf with that running game. I think Baltimore's really going to control this game, Scott, and I think Detroit's offense is good enough where they're either going to be able to keep pace or they're going to do what they've shown is kind of score some points at the end. And I'm not afraid to take a little garbage time to hit the line here. So I think the Detroit offense very intriguing. As far as fantasy goes, love Lamar Jackson this week. Definitely one of my top plays. A no-brainer in your season-long leagues. Obviously, you spent a big high pick on him. You're going to start him in DFS. I don't think you have to necessarily pair him with somebody. You'll hear the term naked, which means you're not pairing him. If you do, I do like Hollywood Brown here. I just mentioned the secondary being thin. I think it's only a matter of time before Mark Andrews gets it going at the tight end position. Historically, Detroit been pretty bad against that spot, and Sammy Watkins seen a pretty big target share as well. Now on the Detroit side, love TJ Hawkinson in the spot. You look at some of his prices in the DFS industry, especially over on DraftKings, just screams value. This guy's going to get a ton of targets here. And Cephas, what do you think, Quintet Cephas? I'm a Wisconsin guy, so love to see Cephas getting it going here. To me, he's been their best wide receiver. Any interest DFS-wise in this one, Scott? A lot of different ways you can go. Are you as optimistic as I am on this one?
Well, I will say that I think the running backs here obviously are going to get a lot of love here for Baltimore. It's got a positive game script. But, you know, Taysom Williams has been getting the lion's share. Most of them carries, but for some reason, if Baltimore is up, and that's what you believe, I think Latavius Murray is going to get a little bit of run. He's pretty cheap. He's $5,500 on FanDuel. But, I mean, these Lions running backs, too, are pretty interesting. Every time they're down, it seems like, I mean, they had 20 targets between the two of them, between Swift and Jamal Williams. They're both getting pretty equal share. But, yeah, I do like some Lions running backs. If I was to play anything, I do like Hawkinson as well, as you said. He's 6,300. They've been getting beat up a little bit by the tight end, so I do like that. But yeah, this game here is definitely interesting. I think you're going to see Baltimore run quite a bit. I'm just concerned a little bit with Lamar Jackson's injuries. If they might pull him back a little bit if they're winning, where they may not run him as much. That's where I think a guy like Murray and Williams, I think where could see most of them carries. Where the first half might be all about normal Lamar Jackson. If they get up, I think they may pull Lamar's rushing attempts back, but we'll see how that fares out. You know, I do think the Lions could keep it close. Quinton Cephas is obviously, as you said, has been coming on here as the Lions' #1 receiver. But yeah, over under 50.5, so they're expecting the Lions to score. So I'm just going to sit back and watch. Unless I can get it at 8.5, I might throw them in a couple teasers at 14.5. But yeah, this one's tough. Like you said, it's kind of a fishy kind of line for me.
Yeah, you might hear about this over again later in the show. Really like this spot here. Definitely one of my favorite spots here is the over here at 50.5. So stink scoring will be here. That means the fantasy goodness will be there as well. So make sure we're loading up on this game in your DFS contest as well. All right, another high-scoring game coming up next, Scott. Arizona and Jacksonville. Arizona's offense been electric. You know, to me, Kyler Murray is the MVP favorite as of this moment. The guy is just playing at such a high level. The weapons are certainly there. Now we have to keep an eye on DeAndre Hopkins. You know, still questionable here. That could open up a lot of targets for guys like A.J. Green, Christian Kirk, and Rondale Moore, who's been fantastic here over his first 2 professional games. Jacksonville on the other side, not as impressive, Scott. It's been kind of ugly. Trevor Lawrence really going through some rookie struggles here. I mean, the accuracy, something that he's been known for, has just not been there. You know, the catchable passes, he's been one of the worst at the quarterback position here. So does Jacksonville get it going here? The Arizona defense, certainly one you can take advantage of here. I think there's a lot of good value plays in DFS in this one. What are your thoughts? How does this one play off? Does Arizona just roll here? Does Jacksonville put up a fight at home?
Yeah, I like Kyler Murray. Like you said, he's one of the top quarterbacks. I'm going to be looking at Kyler Murray almost every week and seeing the kind of matchup he has. I'm just concerned that Jacksonville can't keep up. and that Kyler Murray, they're going to hold him back a little bit. But like you said, I really like that Arizona defense. I mean, Lawrence has thrown 5 picks in his first 2 games. So, obviously we like that. I think we saw Arizona get into that quarterback quite a bit here in the first 2 weeks with Jones and them guys and J.J. Watt. So I don't mind that defense call at all. I think that's a really good call. I know a lot of people are liking Rondale Moore. I'm just concerned with his snap count. He's still 4th in snaps. He's only 43%. Yes, he does have some really high upside, obviously being really shifty, quick kind of guy. But, I mean, we can't forget about Kirk. We can't forget about A.J. Green. I still think them guys are kind of in play. I think it's going to be like one of them situations. It's going to be one of them guys. It'll never be both. So you're going to be guessing a lot of times. But obviously Hopkins, I think he was questionable a little bit here, Hopkins. So a little bit something to kind of keep your eye on. But it sounds like he's going to give it a go. I do like that Arizona defense call that you had there.
Yeah, I think the running backs are interesting here as well. The Arizona side, it's all been Kyler. It's all been Rondale Moore. I know they're splitting the backfield, but I think this could be a spot for Chase Edmonds to get things going in this game. And then the Jacksonville side of things, we really saw James Robinson start to reestablish himself as the guy. It was a kind of a joke in week 1, Carlos Hyde getting too much work. Robinson really kind of took over, and 5,500 on FanDuel here. So if we expect Jacksonville to be competitive, which I do think they can stay in this game, James Robinson, a phenomenal play here. Marvin Jones, another local name that's been great, playing some good ball right now. So I found it interesting. I like to compare the amount of bets coming in, and then you compare that to the amount of money coming in. And this one's interesting. As far as the total here, Scott, 54% of the bets coming in on the over, 92% of the money here on the over. So a pretty glaring discrepancy between those two, and it makes sense. We know Arizona's going to score their points. I don't think the Jacksonville defense is good enough to slow them down, and I think Jacksonville can get it going. We saw Minnesota put up 30 points against this team. Another high number here, but I really like the over in this game, Scott. Agree or disagree?
I agree. I think you're going to get a couple possessions where they have some really short fields. I mean, we already said that he's had 5 picks. I think they're going to get to him. So, obviously we might get some turnovers, get some short fields, get some quick scores, and then probably expect a game here where Lawrence is just going to be dropped back and throwing it quite a bit. So like the Marvin Jones call, obviously with his old offensive coordinator over there from the Lions. But, yeah, I think the over here is a really good call. I do like that.
All right, let's move on to another one. Should be a lot of fun here. Divisional opponents. We got the Chargers and the Chiefs matching up here. Big 54.5-point total. So the 50s keep rolling on here, Scott, and it's what we love from a fantasy perspective. A lot of plays in this game. Obviously, Mahomes, Hill, Kelsey, always in play. This Chargers offense, though, Scott, very intriguing here. We've seen Justin Herbert play well, but a lot of plays for them called back by penalties. I think the underlying numbers look great. The fantasy numbers don't look as high as they probably should here. I really like this offense this week. Herbert, Mike Williams is playing at a very high level. Keenan Allen's yet to get it going. I think he could snap out of his funk here. And maybe my favorite play here, Austin Eckler. Value across DFS, 7,200 on DraftKings, 7K on FanDuel. It's got another game. A lot of fantasy goodness here. What are you doing fantasy-wise? And you see any strong leans in the betting market here?
Yeah, I got to agree with you here. That Kansas City defense has not looked good at all in the first couple weeks. Herbert is just – he's looked good. Like you said, he's had some penalties that have called some pretty big plays back. Mike Williams has just obviously been a touchdown machine. Mike Williams, I think, is a really good play. But, I mean, you look at Mike Williams, his salary isn't too far off from Keenan Allen. So,
right.
I mean, are people going to play Mike Williams or just going to play Keenan Allen? So that's going to be kind of interesting to see. So I think you're going to get Mike Williams a little bit lower owned just because Keenan Allen isn't as priced up. And I do like Keenan Allen. I mean, the guy's just always getting the big targets from Herbert. I really like Keenan Allen here. And you mentioned Eckler. Eckler had 9 targets last week. I think he's back. I really like him here in this spot. Kansas City's been giving up quite a bit of rushing yards. So I like Eckler. I think he's a guy. He's actually been getting the goal line carries, which, we all kind of hope for if you're an Eckler owner going into the season long. So, yeah, I think this game here, obviously in Kansas City, I think it's going to go back and forth here. Over under 54.5. Yes, lots of fantasy goodness. you can play Mahomes anytime. You can play Kelsey Hill. I think you can bounce it back a lot of different ways. But the interesting nugget here in this game, I think, is CEH. On DK, he's only like 4,800. A lot of people are going to be playing him. He pops in all the optimizers, everything else. I don't know, man. I'm not doing it. I can't go there. Williams stole a couple of his goal line carries. But I'm going to let everybody else play CEH, and I'm just going to let that one go. I don't know how you feel about that, but, yeah, I'm going to pass on CEH.
Oh, I'm on Fade City there as well, so we're definitely in lockstep on that one. I just have not – he hasn't looked great, and maybe he bounces out of it, maybe gets it going, but his calling card is him catching balls out of the backfield. That's what he was known for at LSU. Patrick Mahomes isn't going to check down to his running backs. I mean, that's the guy that's going to attack down the field. You know where the ball's going to go. So are they suddenly going to just unleash CH on the ground? I don't think so. I'm going to stay away. At first glance, I was like, wow, CH is only 4,800. Feels like a trap even at 4,800. So I'm with you. I'll kind of let other people step into that trap, like all the other plays here. Now, Mahomes, Hill, Kelsey, it's always good to have some of those guys and have some exposure. It's a lot easier to do on a FanDuel. Salaries are a little softer over there, but it can be tough on DraftKings. But I like all them Chargers. You have tons of running back options, and I agree. Mike Williams probably goes overlooked here, and that role I don't think is going away with him. So I like a lot in this game fantasy-wise. As far as a bet here, Scott, any leans here? I'm kind of leaning the Chargers. The Chiefs generally don't cover as many spreads as you would think they do. It's kind of funny. They're a very public team, but if you look at some of their trends, they haven't covered many spreads here. I had it written down. I don't know where exactly it went, but they've been pretty bad.
Yeah, they're 0-2 this year.
So I think the Chargers keep this close enough where I feel pretty good about Chargers +7 here.
Yeah, you said the Chiefs are 0-2 against the spread so far this year. I actually do. I think the Chargers actually may win this game outright. So I like the Chargers. I mean, you can get them at a +250 on the money line. I don't mind that at all. Actually, I actually kind of like that. So we'll see. But the Chiefs to me just haven't been playing very good defense. I think Hebert and the young kid here, they go into Arrowhead and get them a victory.
Love it. Love that you call him Hebert, like the old Bobby Hebert back in the day. The Saints.
Yeah, I mean, hey, Hebert, Herbert, whatever you want to call him.
Hey, that's. I like the throwback, man. It brings me back. Remembering those old the Saints fans wearing the bags on their heads. They were so bad for so long, and it takes me back to Bobby.
I think Bobby Hebert played with the Michigan Panthers, if I'm not mistaken.
Wow, look at this guy pulling out Michigan Panthers nuggets.
I don't know. I may be wrong.
Now, if you got the jersey in your closet, that's what would really impress me. You pull a Michigan Panthers jersey of Bobby Hebert out. I want to see that bad boy.
No, I can't do that.
All right, let's move on to the next game. We go from a high-scoring game to one that looks kind of ugly on paper here. We got New Orleans in New England. -3 here for New England at home, 42.5 on the total here, Scott. And New England been, doing their New England thing. They're gonna win games running the ball, playing defense. They've certainly done that, kind of dummy things down for Mac Jones. I think it's been a good game plan, easing this rookie quarterback in. New Orleans, kind of a tale of 2 weeks. They throttle my Packers opening weekend, then they come back and they lay an egg to Carolina. Now Carolina defense looks pretty good. They went into Houston and put up another pretty big performance. That's not saying a lot. You shut down the Texans, but this one interesting. Do you expect the Saints to bounce back? And if so, Alvin Kamara, a guy that's probably going to be pretty low owned compared to some of these other higher end running backs this week.
Yeah, I'm going to have to fade Kamara. I mean, we always know Bill Belichick's going to take one thing away from the opposing team, and I think that's going to obviously be Kamara. He's just going to make Jameis beat him with that pretty weak receiving core that they got over there in New Orleans. But I think New Orleans struggled a little bit last week. They didn't have all their coaches. They were all out because of COVID. So I actually kind of think here that I'm going to lean the Saints in this game here. I think the Saints might beat New England. I haven't been a fan of New England yet. I mean, they got a rookie quarterback. I think the Saints got a great interior line on both sides of the ball. So I think you might see the Saints here kind of push them around a little bit. But I do like the under in this game. 43 seems kind of high. I think this game's going to be pretty low scoring, but those low 40 numbers sometimes are pretty scary to bet in the NFL. Obviously, you can get a couple, a punt return or a turnover here and there, which would kind of screw you up here on your under. But I just, there's not much as far as DFS goes here in this game. I do like the under, and I like the Saints here.
We're on opposite ends on this one, which is fine. We're not always going to agree, and it makes it easy for the people out there. Just avoid this game. I think New England controls this one at home. And you mentioned a defensive line for the Saints. Phenomenal, but they are dealing with some injuries here, so I do think Damian Harris in this run game will be able to get it going. I also lean the under here, but this thing opened at 47 all the way down to 42.5. So, yes, it's a good sign on the under. But it also feels like the value's kind of been sucked out of this line already. It's down about as far as it's going to go. So I could very well trend under again. I feel better about the Patriots bet here. So if we're splitting things here, we got to save the people, leave this game alone, and let's find a better game here that maybe we do agree on for the people. Let's go to Atlanta and the Giants here, Scott. Giants -3 at home, 47.5. And call me crazy here, but I'm buying into what Daniel Jones is selling right now. And I know we've been down this path before with not only Jones, but guys like Mitchell Trubisky. They kind of fool you. But let's look at the first 2 weeks, Scott. This guy's been phenomenal. One of the top fantasy quarterbacks out there against two very good defenses in Denver and the other matchup, Washington. Now he gets Atlanta, they're allowing 40 points per game. And some of that was, some pick sixes last week. I get it, but I love this spot for Daniel Jones. I love this spot for our former friend, former Lion, Kenny Golladay. I think he gets it going here. Saquon Barkley, super cheap on FanDuel, 6,000. So, is this a trap? Am I falling too much head over heels here for the Giants in this one?
No, no, not at all. Atlanta has got one of the worst defenses, like you said, 40-plus points. I mean, they're actually giving up more points than the Lions, which is kind of hard to do.
That's tough to do, absolutely.
Absolutely. So, but my favorite play actually is going to be Barkley here. We saw Barkley was a little limited at first. He got pretty good share of carries, and then last week he was out 84% of the snaps. So, I mean, he's pretty cheap. He's only $6K on FanDuel. I mean, sign me up. I'll take Saquon. I think this is a game Saquon comes out and really smashes here against this Atlanta team. I don't think they're really going to need to throw it around. I can understand all the love for Daniel Jones. I don't know. I'm just not sold yet. I think it's only week 3. I got to see it 1 or 2 more times before I buy a Daniel Jones chalk. I think he is going to be pretty chalky. He's going to be pretty popular. I think some people are going to play some Giants. I think they're going to mix in some Sterling Shepard. I really like Sterling Shepard. He's been one of the top receivers in the NFL. I mean, he's had, 9, 8, 7, 9 catches, 3 touchdowns already. So I like Sterling Shepard here. But I guess the question too is Mike Davis in play on the other side? He's fairly cheap, but for me, I'm not really interested in too many Atlanta guys. But yeah, I think there's a lot of goodness here with the Giants. I'm just kind of curious if Atlanta's going to be able to keep up. Is my question.
Yeah, so let's hit on these individually now. As far as quarterback ownership in DFS, generally doesn't get out of control, and I don't think you're going to have a ton of people on Daniel Jones. I think you're going to have people that like him. You're going to have the crowd that's never going to play Daniel Jones, and then you're going to have the people wondering, is this a trap? Kind of like we talked about, which is why I wanted to bring it up. I know a lot of people out there are probably having that same debate. Do I want to go here or not? But when you have Patrick Mahomes, when you have Kyler Murray, when you have Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, who we talked about, more quarterbacks we haven't even gotten to yet, Russell Wilson, Matthew Stafford, I don't think you're going to see a ton of ownership here on Daniel Jones, especially on FanDuel. I do think you're going to get a ton of ownership on Saquon Barkley over there with that price tag. I'm not against the play. I just think this passing offense becomes almost a leverage type play. And when we say that, what it means if everybody's on Saquon Barkley, we're going to be different and kind of leverage all that ownership and put it on the passing game here with the New York Giants. And we know Daniel Jones can get it done with his legs as well. So you don't necessarily have to be flinging the ball all over the yard for him to put a big day on the board. So there's a lot of ways you can go. I'm not disagreeing with the Saquon call. I think FanDuel, he'll see more ownership than he will everywhere else. But A lot of Giants for me this week. As far as Atlanta goes, I agree on Mike Davis. And he's not a guy that I was high on going into the season. I felt he was overvalued. A lot of people drafting him in that fifth, sixth round. But price has come down. We know he's going to be involved in the passing game. I know Cordero Patterson, the flavor of the week, probably everyone's number one pickup on your waivers this week. Let's not forget about Mike Davis. I think he's a solid value on both sites this week, FanDuel and DraftKings. Also think Calvin Ridley, a nice run it back as well. You're saving some money with Jones, with Golladay, with Shepard, however you want to do it. I don't hate the pairing of two of those guys together, running it back with a Calvin Ridley on the other side. So Kyle Pitts, let's talk Kyle Pitts. Big name tight end, hasn't done a ton yet. Any interest there?
No, I'm not going to go there. I think he will be a little lower owned than he was coming out the gate. But for me, there's just some other guys that I got a lot more interest in that, I'd rather play a guy like Mark Andrews, I think, this week than a Kyle Pitts. There's just some other guys, Hawkinson. So I'm just going to pass on Pitts at this point. If I was going to play a guy from Atlanta, I think I'd bounce it back with maybe a Ridley, obviously. He's Calvin Ridley. He's going to break out at some point. We obviously want to be on that before everybody else does. But yeah, I think Mike Davis is kind of interesting though. Denver and Washington had 42 carries, 225 and 2 touchdowns against the same defense. So, obviously they're not, top of the line as far as running backs go. So maybe Mike Davis can get it going a little bit, maybe get as close to 100 yards, maybe a touchdown. So maybe kind of a sneaky type guy here that, might be interesting.
All right, any bets here? I love the Giants here. We're seeing most of the public action on Atlanta. I think people saw last week, hey, they held with Tampa Bay. They can put points on the board here. I think the Giants win this game. 3-point spread. That's one of my favorite bets of the weekend, Scott. Am I crazy here?
No, I don't think you're that crazy. I mean, the overs actually kind of got bet down a little bit from what I'm seeing, got bumped down a point. So I'm not sure if that means everybody thinks that, Barkley's going to get some run. The clock's going to be running and Jones is running. I don't know if, that they're just looking at maybe this would be a type running game. So like you said, it might be a little leverage there to throw in that Giants passing game. But as far as the bet goes, I think I'm just going to stay away from this one. I don't really have too many lean here really that I could be proud of to talk about.
All right, you are listening to the Woodward Bets Show here, covering everything for Week 3 in the NFL right here on the Woodward Sports Network. Thank you for always tuning in and supporting our new project here. We greatly appreciate it. Make sure you get over and follow us on Twitter at Woodward Bets. All right, Scott, let's get in next game. We need to save some time here. We got to get things moving a little bit here. I want to get to the best bet segment, some of our favorite DFS plays, fantasy plays towards the end. I think we can save some time on this one. Cincinnati and Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh -3, 43 on the total. The story here, injuries. Deontay Johnson goes down on that last play of that game against the Raiders, unfortunately. He will be out this week. Obviously going to open up opportunities for Chase Claypool, Juju Smith-Schuster. Cincinnati looks like they may be without T. Higgins, listed as doubtful here. So Chase, Boyd become very interesting. So that's sort of the majority of my interest is here in this game, Scott. Some of these cheaper wide receivers, especially Tyler Boyd on DraftKings. As far as the spread, over-under, not touching this one. It just, everything looks about where it should. You try to find your edges here. I just don't see a huge edge in this one. Where are you at fantasy-wise? Anything on these numbers here in the betting markets?
Yeah, you mentioned T. Higgins. He's actually been ruled out inactive. So, yeah, Tyler Boyd, bump to Tyler Boyd for sure. But, you look at this, you think about it, Cincinnati, they got them at about even with Pittsburgh. They're minus, I don't know. I don't like the game either. It's a division game, like you said. Cincinnati's got a young team coming into Pittsburgh. Normally this is a smash mouth type game where they hated each other. I think they may be a little bit past that. But Cincinnati gets hit. A league high, almost 15% sack rate. They're getting hit. Burrow's getting hit quite a bit. So I think this is going to be kind of a slow type game, smash mouth kind of game. Yeah, like you said, no really DFS goodness, and we can move on to the next one.
All right, beautiful. Moving on to Indianapolis and Tennessee. Tennessee, 5.5-point home favorites, 48 On the total, Scott, we saw Derrick Henry do his Henry thing, have a massive game. You needed him. Not only DFS, you probably, if in your season-long leagues, that's one of them. You start checking all your teams and saying, damn, I hope I'm not going against Derrick Henry on too many matchups. So he goes nuts. Now they're coming back home. Colts been struggling a little bit here. I really like the spot for this entire Tennessee offense. I like Derrick Henry once again this week. I think Tannehill can have a big game here. I don't think a lot of people are going to roster him. And I think A.J. Brown gets it going. People are quick to anoint Julio Jones as the wide receiver one here. I think this is an A.J. Brown week. So all the Titans for me this week, Scott.
Yeah, I really like Henry. Henry's been getting some catches. I mean, if Henry's going to start catching the ball in the backfield, I mean, that might not be fair. So, I mean, 9 catches last couple weeks. I think I really like Henry, like you said. I mean, the Colts play like a zone-type defense. I think Henry's going to break loose. The only thing that concerns me is, though, Taylor Lewan went out last week right before the game started, and then they lost their left guard too. So little bit of concern there. But it looks like the Colts may not be without Carson Wentz. So if they're with Hundley, I mean, this might be a positive game script for Mr. Henry if they get up. So, yeah, I really like some Derrick Henry, especially if Hundley's going to be in for the Colts.
Yep. Any strong leans on bets here in this one? I'm leaning the Titans. It's not a strong feeling, though. So I'll put it on the card, but it's not one of my favorite bets. But I do think they control this game.
Yeah, I can't say that I'm really in love with anything. If anything, I would like the under, especially with Hundley, but it's already been bet down from 50 to 47. So like you said, it may be pretty close to where it's losing its value. But yeah, I can't say. I mean, it looks like about 65% of the money's coming in on the Titans, but I don't mind that. If gun to my head, I'd probably bet on the Titans.
All right, let's move on to probably another time saver here. A pretty ugly game. Jets traveling to Denver. The Jets been a mess. We saw Zach Wilson really struggle, 4 interceptions against that New England defense. Now another tall task. Not only is it the Denver defense, you're traveling to Denver here. A very low total in this one, Scott, at 41.5. I don't see a ton in fantasy I like in this one. I like the Denver defense, obviously. I think you can sprinkle in some Fant, some Cortland Sutton. I'm out on the Jets. I don't see anything there, and I kind of like the under here. Feels like one of those games. Denver wins 20-3, and it stays under even at a low number here. So I don't think we need to spend a lot of time on this one. I like the under in this one, kind of ugly from a fantasy perspective.
Yeah, I agree. A lot of times when I'm building my DFS teams, especially in NFL, there's a lot of times I just wipe out whole games and not even worry about it, try to shorten the slate up a little bit. This is definitely one. That was probably the first one I crossed off, the lowest over under 41, like you said. Denver -10, so obviously nobody's really expecting the Jets to do too much. Started out 0-2 against the spread. Denver's been 2-0 against the spread, been looking pretty good. I mean, 10 points is a lot in any kind of NFL game. I'm just going to sit back and watch. Really not anything DFS. I agree with you. And as far as I'm concerned, we could skip right on by and move on to the next one.
All right, let's move on. And I think there's another team here I don't have a ton of interest in. That's the Miami Dolphins taking on the surprising Las Vegas Raiders, 2-0. 2 impressive wins as well. You know, they get that one at home against the Ravens when it looked like they were going to give it away. And then they go into Pittsburgh and basically dominate that game. Now you have Miami coming in without their quarterback. So Jacoby Brissett will be under center here. Zero interest in Miami for me. I don't see anything on that side of the ball. Will Fuller entering the lineup, so it's just another mouth to try to feed. Brissett's not going to throw the ball around 500 times. The running back situation's a 3-headed monster, so easy pass for me. As far as Vegas goes, even that side, I don't have a ton of interest overall in this game outside of Darren Waller, who I do think bounces back here. FanDuel 7,400, a nice discount for you off Travis Kelce if you can't find a way to get there. If you're not going with the Hawkinsons or Andrews of the world, I think Waller makes for a phenomenal play this week. But betting-wise, I like the Raiders here. Again, I don't love them. I'm not gonna put the house on the Raiders, but I think they go 3-0 here. What do you got here in this one?
Yeah, I like the Raiders. I think they got that magic kind of Golden Knight thing going their first time with the fans out there in Las Vegas. We saw what kind of happened with that hockey team. So, like you mentioned, Jacoby Brissett, no thanks on any of the Miami guys. I will bring up, though, if anybody's interested in Ruggs, he's got a pretty tough matchup against Howard, the cornerback there from Miami. So, yeah, I'm just going to pass on this one as far as any kind of bets. I don't really like where the line is, 3.5. I don't even like the 44. I think that's kind of low, especially with a guy like Jacoby Brissett. If, any kind of turnovers, that could bust that over under for us. So I'm just going to sit back and watch this one. And we got 2 other games here coming up at 4 o'clock that definitely are going to have some goodness. So that's probably where my attention is going to be, but I'm definitely passing on this one.
Yeah, and it's an important note for the audience. I know you want us to give a bet on every game and make the picks, and that's just not how you do it when you're betting games. You find your 2 or 3 games that you like, and you go with that. If you start spreading yourself out too thin, A, you're going to lose your bankroll. B, you end up, if anything, you win half, you lose half, and you end up paying the rake. So find a few spots that you really like and really hammer down on those. So we want to express that we're doing the same. We're going to give you the picks that we really like. Not just go through the motions and give you picks just to give you picks. So, Scott, let's go to maybe the game of the week here. Like I said, we got 2 games left. This is a fun way to wrap it up here. Tampa Bay and the Rams. This one should be awesome. We get to see Matthew Stafford get a test here against this Tampa Bay defense. Tampa Bay's look great, of course, here. So big total here at 55.5. We got a 1.5 point spread in this one. I'm going to toss this one to you. This one should be fun to watch. I think there's a lot of ways we can go in fantasy. I'm interested to see where you're going to land on the betting on this one.
Well, I mean, Tampa Bay has scored 30 or more points in 9 straight games. I like the over. I think it's once you start getting around 55, 56 in the over-unders, they really can't go much higher. It's not like college. We're going to see these 70, high 60 over-unders. It's very rare you ever see that in the NFL. So when you ever see them numbers getting around the 57, 56, 58 range, I mean, they really can't. They're already stretching it out. So, I mean, I think this game here is just going to be a pure passing attack, back and forth. Everybody's been throwing the ball quite a bit on Tampa, realizing they really are not going to be able to run up against that front of that defense. But it's going to be really interesting. I mean, obviously we got some good defensive player. We got we got Ramsey on the other side. I think Evans is going to see quite a bit of Ramsey. So that's going to leave Godwin running around a little bit. But, usually the Bucs go against the matchup. They like to play the matchups, obviously, with the smartest player behind center there in Brady. But, yeah, I'm going to watch this one here. I mean, this is going to be – I think this could be the NFC Championship preview game here. And I have bet on the Rams to win the Super Bowl. I'm kind of going to root for Tampa Bay to spank them. I want them to get beat so where they taste that nastiness of that loss, to where they want to come back and beat them. I just want Tampa Bay to kind of beat them here in the regular season. So when it comes playoff time, they're really motivated and they're ready to win that money game there in the playoff time. So definitely going to be interesting. I will note one thing: Tampa Bay is going to be without Pierre-Paul, so I think that's going to open up even a little bit more of the passing game. So yeah, I really like the over in this one, but yeah, I'm just going to sit back and watch and enjoy this game.
Really like the Rams in this spot. I'll gladly take the 1.5. I think this may even tick up a little bit. Then you can get a little money line action on it as well. I think the Rams win this game here. You mentioned some of the injuries there. I think these teams are very comparable. You said NFC Championship. I agree. We know we have a lot of contenders. We got another team we're about to talk about here shortly, I think, is in the mix as well. But I really like the Rams here in the spot to knock off Tom Brady and company. I think the offense is good enough to keep pace with Tampa Bay, and the defense, maybe they're not to that level, but like you said, there's some studs there. Ramsey, Aaron Donald. There's a lot of goodness in this game. As far as fantasy goes, mainly the wide receivers for me in this one, Scott, and it's not going to be Evans. I agree. He may see some Ramsey, although Ramsey's not much of a shadow anymore. They kind of use him all over the field. I think this sets up as a Chris Godwin game. No Antonio Brown. Godwin, the guy that can run all the intermediate routes, so I think he'll be busy. Cooper Kupp's been a monster, so it's hard for me to not continue to go to that well. We know Tampa Bay, very good against the run, but very vulnerable against the pass, and I think the Rams are going to come in with a very pass-heavy game plan here. That makes Robert Woods intriguing, and even Tyler Higbee. I know he's burned you guys last week. I think he's going to, again, play a ton of snaps, be very involved. He's one of my favorite sneaky fantasy plays. Season long, I think you can still feel good about him. But in DFS, even cheaper than some of those guys we mentioned earlier. So a lot of pass catchers to me. Staying away from the running backs. It looks like it may be Sony Michel, Tampa Bay. literally impossible to run against. So not going there. And Leonard Fournette's look good, but again, I don't want to mess with that here against the Rams. So pass catchers, and I like the Rams minus or plus the 1.5, I should say. So anything else here, Scott, or we cover everything in that? We can get to our last game.
Yeah, I think I do. I'll bring up Cooper Kupp. I mean, he's been one of the number one receivers. Tampa Bay's getting beat up pretty bit underneath. So I really like Cooper Kupp too. I mean, this game's full of goodness, like you said. No running backs for me in this one. So I'm just going to go all receiving in this game here. I think, I mean, Scotty Miller is going to get a little bit of run with Brown out. But yeah, I'm going with anybody who can catch a ball in this game. I think is definitely interesting.
Yeah, I like the correlation on both sides. When we say correlation, we want action on both teams, the back and forth, and pairing a Godwin with a Kupp or a Woods, or I don't even hate the double stack with Matthew Stafford here in this game. I think he could throw for 350, 400 yards in this one against this defense, trying to keep pace with this Tampa Bay offense. So lots of ways you could go here. I think Stafford, Kupp, and Woods, and Higbee all have some pretty big days here. Final game for us here on the main slate of games. We got Seattle and Minnesota. Seattle -2 here. Another big total, Scott. It feels like it's Christmas for a fantasy player. All these 50, 55s, 56s. This one should be fun as well. Two defenses that leave a lot to be desired. We'll say that. You know, Seattle gives up 30-something to Tennessee last week. Minnesota allows 30-something to Arizona. Is this another one? You said you like these double nickels here, 55s, 56s. You going over here as well?
Yeah, I like some Russell Wilson. I'm going to let Russ do some cooking for me this week. Might cook me up some winners. I really like Wilson. I think, you know, Lockett is probably not going to see Peterson, so I do like Lockett. I think DK is going to get some Patrick Peterson, which is interesting. But I think, I mean, this game here has got the potential to be back and forth. I think I'm keeping my eye on that Seattle offensive coordinator. He's up-tempo kind of guy, so I think he's going to let Russ just throw it around the yard quite a bit. So, yeah, I'm really interested. I think Chris Carson for me is kind of another guy I've been trying to decide if how much interest I really have here. I mean, I think he's in a really good spot. I think they've given up 50 totes, 221, and a touchdown so far. That being Minnesota. So we'll see. I think this game definitely has the sneaky potential of all the bigger games. I think this one's not getting as much attention as some of the others. So I think this one here has got a really good chance for a game stack where you could have some Russell Wilson, maybe some Lockett. Even if you like DK, it's usually one or the other. Obviously, so far it's been both Lockett. Yeah, I think you can bounce it back with some Justin Jefferson, who's I think is definitely an interesting play this week too. So yeah, I think there's all kinds of goodness in this game, but I think it is the quieter of the plus 50 game over under games that we see.
Yeah, I agree. This one's kind of flying under the radar a little bit, and I love the Russell Wilson call. You know, Metcalf, is he going to get it going? Is he 100% healthy? I think there's a lot of questions there. Lockett, we know traditionally not a guy that puts together 2-3 weeks at a time. It's generally spike weeks, but hard to argue with the way this offense is playing right now. I'm going to stay away from Carson. He bailed me out last week with 2 touchdowns, but didn't do a whole lot outside of that. The guy I really like here, Dalvin Cook. I know there's a lot of concern. Is he healthy? Is he going to play? And maybe they end up sitting him out, but it sounds like he's trending towards playing here, Scott. We saw what Derrick Henry did to this team last week. And Cook, one of the few workhorses we have left at the running back position. The guy's averaging 26 touches per game. Seattle giving up over 44 DraftKings points a game to running back. So sign me up for Dalvin Cook. I think if anything, this is just going to knock his ownership down a little bit. I think he's a phenomenal play, along with all the guys you mentioned. I think everybody pretty much in play in this game. Hate using that cop-out, but this is a game don't forget about it. I think there's a lot of ways you can go here. So with your Russell Wilson love, does that put you on Seattle -2 here? Because I'm going to be on the other side. I think Minnesota wins this game, so I'm going to take the 2 points. A little bit on the money line if you get a nice price on that. I like the Vikings to kind of get off the schneid here and take this one.
Well, I'll tell you, that's all going to decide for me. I'm going to decide on that if Dalvin Cook plays. If Dalvin Cook plays, yeah, I think I like the Vikings. Vikings back are against the wall. They lost their first 2 games by less than a field goal. So, I mean, coming on the road, too. So now they're coming home opener. I mean, they're going to be motivated to win. I think that's why they are going to play Dalvin Cook. They're going to use him. They're going to try to get him out there. But if Dalvin Cook does not play, all of a sudden Madison becomes pretty much chalky at 5,200, especially on FanDuel. I think you're going to get quite a bit of love for Madison. He'll end up being one of the chalkier plays. So keep your eye on that. If Cook's out, Madison's definitely a great play, 5,200, in a good spot against Seattle. So definitely going to have to keep our eye as the games get closer here to going off.
All right, we come to the portion of the show. We're going to tie things up in a nice, tidy bow for you guys and give you some of our favorite plays at each position, along with our favorite bets of the week here, Scott. So we went through each game. We laid out some guys we like for fantasy, for DFS, some of our favorite bets. So why don't you let it rip here at the quarterback position, your top 3 plays here for week 3 in the NFL. Who do you got?
Well, I do like Kyler Murray. As we said, he's on MVP pace. I do like him this week. He's my number 1. I like Matt Stafford as well in that game. I think he's going to throw it quite a bit. I think, obviously against that Tampa run, it's a funnel-type defense. They're going to make him throw. And then I got Russ Wilson, as we said. I'm going to let Russ cook in that game. I think it's a low-owned kind of situation for him. So those are my 3 favorites. And hopefully, I think I normally play 3 to 5 teams on FanDuel. So I'm probably going to have all 3 in my lineups, and maybe probably going to end up with 2 Kyler and then probably 2 Russ Wilsons, and probably just go with 1 Stafford. But, yep, those are my 3.
All right, I don't disagree with any of those names. I just want to give you some different names here. And Mahomes is too easy. You play Mahomes every week, so I'm not going to go there. Really like Lamar Jackson here against Detroit. We talked about that defense really struggling. I think he's going to get it going on the ground. In fact, I think he goes over 100 yards rushing here. So love him. Next, I'm going to go Daniel Jones. Give you some value here. Again, I hope I'm not stepping into a bear trap here, Scott, with Daniel Jones. But I do think he gets it going here this week. And the last guy I'm going to give you, Justin Herbert, I think has a big game here against the Kansas City Chiefs. Look, if they're going to keep pace with them, Herbert's going to have to do his part. So those are 3 guys I'm really eyeing here this weekend. So let's move to the running back position, Scott. I think you're going to go to the same Chargers team I just talked about. Who you liking here at the running back position?
Definitely like Austin Eckler, as we said. I mean, that's just going to be a really good game to watch. I'm looking forward to watching that one. I like Eckler. And then I got Henry and Saquon Barkley. I think Henry's in a smash spot. Like I said, Barkley's pretty cheap. I can't ignore that $6K price tag. I know you had some concern, but for $6K, really opens up some stuff for me. I think I'm willing to eat that chalk.
I'm going to join you on Saquon here, just kind of hammer it home. 84% of the snaps last week, so he's starting to get more involved in the offense. What I really like, 10 days rest. We know he's dealing with injuries, so coming off that Thursday game last week, should be rocked, ready to go. So giving you 2 Giants here, a little scary. Dalvin Cook, another guy I really like, and I'm also gonna copy you here with Austin Eckler. I think he's in a good spot here. So as you can see, like with my Chargers, like in my Giants so far. So let's go to the wide receiver position. Top 3 plays for week 3. Who you got, Scott?
Number 1, Cooper Kupp, the number 1 receiver so far in football. I really like Cooper Kupp and Matt Stafford this week. I think Kupp underneath is going to just eat. I really like that. Justin Jefferson, as I said, is a great bounce back in that Minnesota game. I'm really liking Justin Jefferson. I think he's going to have a really great game. And if you like Daniel Jones, like I said, I like Sterling Shepard in that one. As you mentioned, maybe a little bit of leverage if you go with the passing game. So I'm going to go with Sterling Shepard, Kupp, and Jefferson as my 3 wide receivers.
All right, I really like Galladay, but I don't want to go 3 for 3 on Giants here. I already gave you Daniel Jones and Barkley, so I'm going to go in a different direction here. First guy I really like at the wide receiver position for some value, Tyler Boyd. We mentioned no T. Higgins here. We know that offensive line is bad, so they're going to need to get the ball out quick. Even without T.J. Watt on that defense for Pittsburgh, they're still going to be able to get to the quarterback here. So I think Boyd, a phenomenal play on DraftKings. Some other guys I like, A.J. Brown, I think really gets it going here this week for the Tennessee Titans. We talked about him earlier. And then I mentioned Chris Godwin. I think he has a big game. No Antonio Brown. Evans likely probably sees the majority of the coverage there. I think Godwin's the big benefactor there. So those are 3 guys that I'm really looking at this weekend. Let's finish up with the fantasy play, Scott. Tight end, who are we looking at?
I got Hockenson, Waller, and Gronk. I know we already kind of talked about Hockenson and Waller. I think Waller's going to be a little bit lower owned than he should be, so that's why I really like Waller. Gronk's just had a couple touchdown weeks, 3 weeks in a row. So, but I think Hawkinson's in the best spot, especially in a game script that's going to be positive for him. But I think Waller is going to be a low-owned, sneaky guy that's definitely got a lot of high upside.
Love Waller. No issue with Kelsey. If you can get there, of course, get Kelsey in the lineup. But I actually think Waller outscores him this week. I'm going to follow you here on Hawkinson as well. I think he's tremendous value, especially on DraftKings with the PPR format. And I'm going to have Tyler Higbee here. I think he bounces back in a big way and is going to have very minimal ownership. We've seen this guy have massive games in the past. I think he has another one here against Tampa Bay. So let's go to our favorite bets here. Do you have any favorite stacks, anything like that you want to bring up before we get out of here, or we just want to dive into the best bets?
Well, we can get into the bets for everybody. I think, for me, you want to talk about some bets. I like that over in the Kansas City and the Charger game, as we mentioned, over 54.5. I really like that. And as I mentioned, I like Josh Allen's rushing prop over 35 yards. I think he's going to get there, hopefully get there in the first half for me. I usually like looking at some of these rushing props. I think a lot of times that's where you can get an edge on some of these player props. But I'm going Josh Allen rushing prop over 35, and I'm going to go the over in that Chiefs game.
All right, my three favorite bets. I'm going to stick with my Giants theme here. I really like the Giants at home, minus the 3. Love the over in the Baltimore-Detroit game. I think points will be scored big time by Baltimore. Detroit's going to be forced to score some points, and I think they can do that. And I'm going to go with the Rams as my third pick here. I really think they win that game. So tough to bet against Tom Brady. I get it, but I like the Rams, and I think a lot of people are going to be on Tampa. Tampa, a very public team. I always want to kind of be on the other side of things like that and fade the public. So give me the Rams as well. So any other nuggets here, Scott? We did it, our first show in the books. Excited to be back here doing this show with you. We are Woodward Bets here on the Woodward Sports Network. Any final thoughts here for the people? Anything you want to toss them before we get out of here for week 3?
Man, I appreciate everybody sticking with us here through this long show. I mean, it's Sunday. It's our favorite day of the week. It's Sunday fun day. I'm going to be sitting around drinking some beers. Hopefully we can get some winners and get atop of them leaderboards in that DFS contest. But don't be afraid to get on in there. As I mentioned before, we were talking, if you're not really wanting to get in there at DFS and play some of them sharks, on FanDuel, I can't play anything more than $3. So anything less than $3 is definitely where a lot of the novice are playing. So you can't. All them sharks are limited from that. So get on in there, get some fun, have some fun with it. Looking forward to doing the show with you every week here, every day, talking about the bets and DFS, kind of educating the people here on our new toy that we have here in Metro Detroit, sports betting and DFS and all that fun stuff, which I know you and I have loved and has been a big part of our life here in the last decade or so. So, definitely looking forward to it. Hopefully tomorrow we can get us some winners and get us some screenshots, get up there on top of them tournaments tomorrow.
That's right. Come on back tomorrow and listen. We'll be back 6 to 7 on the Woodward Sports Network. Make sure you follow our Twitter page at Woodward Bets. You can follow Scott on Twitter at G_Risen. I am at Beer Makers Fan, and send us your questions as well. Sit starts, Dynasty. I play in a ton of Dynasty leagues, or DFS. Like Scott said, a lot of you guys are new. We want to help you navigate those waters. So make sure you send us those questions. There is no dumb question. We want to educate you. We are here to help you guys succeed. I want to see people succeed, make money doing this thing like we've been able to do. So send us those questions as well after you give us a follow at Woodward Bets. So for Scott, for Woodward Bets, for the Woodward Sports Network, best of luck this week, guys, and we'll see you tomorrow.